It started with a missed call. Annika was in the middle of a hectic workday when she glanced at her phone and saw an unknown number on the screen. Normally, she ignored such calls, assuming they were spam, but something made her pause. There was a voicemail. Curious, she played it. "Hey, I don't know if this number still works, but if it does, call me back. It's Vihan." Her breath hitched. Vihan, a name she hadn't heard in years. A name she had spent so long trying to forget. She stared at the phone, heart pounding. Why now? Vihan had once been her entire world. Back in college, they had been inseparable, best friends, soulmates, even if they had never put a label on it. They spent late nights on the rooftop of their dorm, talking about dreams, fears, and a future they thought they'd always be part of together. But life had other plans. On the day of graduation, Vihan got an unexpected job offer abroad. He had tried to tell her, to explain that he didn't want to leave her behind, but Annika had shut him out. She was hurt, afraid of being left behind. Instead of listening, she had walked away, and that was the last time they had spoken. Now, 5 years later, he was reaching out. She hesitated before pressing call back. The phone rang once, twice. Then, "Annika?" His voice was exactly as she remembered, warm, familiar, but with a hint of nervousness. "You called," she said, her voice softer than she intended. "I wasn't sure if you'd answer." "Neither was I." A small chuckle. "Fair enough." She swallowed. "Why now, Vihan?" A pause. Then, "I'm back in town. And I wanted to see you." Her heart skipped a beat. "See me?" She took a deep breath. "Where?" "The old cafe. Tomorrow at 6?" Her fingers gripped the phone tighter. That cafe had been their spot, the place where they had spent hours between classes, sipping coffee and making grand plans for the future. "Okay," she whispered. The next evening, Annika walked into the cafe, heart hammering. And there he was. Vihan looked almost the same, just a little older, a little wiser. When he saw her, he smiled, that same crooked grin that had once made her stomach flip. "You came," he said, standing up. She nodded. "Of course." They sat down, and at first the conversation was careful, full of small talk. Then, somewhere between their first and second cup of coffee, the walls crumbled. "I never stopped thinking about you, Annika," Vihan admitted. "I wanted to reach out so many times, but I didn't know if you'd want to hear from me." She looked down at her cup, fingers tracing the rim. "I was angry, Vihan, but not at you. At myself. I pushed you away because I was scared." His gaze softened. "Scared of what?" "Scared that if I let you go, you'd never come back." Silence stretched between them. Then Vihan reached across the table, gently taking her hand. "But I did come back." She looked up, meeting his eyes. "And this time?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. He smiled, squeezing her hand. "This time, I'm not going anywhere." And just like that, a love story that had paused 5 years ago began again. This time, with no more missed calls.